All right, so welcome back. Episode 2 was good coming up, right? Got a lot to talk about this week. I'm going to talk about the NFL, where we landed with our predictions, what we think is going to predict this next coming week. Fair warning, or what's the alert on the bottom? Disclaimer. We are not sports professionals. We do this for fun.
We're not professional analysts.
Yes.
So calling out predictions.
Yeah, so Stephen A., don't come at me. Don't want you to. We're gonna get a little bit into a hot topic right now in the NBA, or really two of them. We're gonna get into some games, right? Hop into see what's going on with SP2, RDR2, Apex, and one more game that I'm really excited to hear about from main man here. And last but not least, we're gonna get into some little favorite anime things to go over. But without further ado, man, let's get started, right?
For sure. I guess we got to go over, the predictions or our lack of ability to predict.
I don't even want to talk about this, man.
It was a rough week, man. I feel like we tried, I guess I felt like it was going to be the week of the upsets. So I picked a lot of upsets, and there was certain games that came real close.
Mm-hmm.
And, it could have gone either way. There were some that were just completely one-sided that just completely lost out on. But honestly, it was a crazy week to see and seeing. You want to start off with where we landed on our predictions?
I really want to talk about the good stuff before we start talking about the bad stuff. Being honest, but the one thing you said earlier is that there were some that were like good upsets, and then there were some that was just straight outlandish that I don't think anybody predicted.
Yeah.
We got kicked off with Thursday, right? So we got Raiders and Chargers.
Oh yeah, that was a rough go, man.
We both predicted the Chargers to come out on top of
Oh yeah,
right?
I think a lot of people would have predicted the Chargers, even without Herbert, because the Raiders are without their starting quarterback, they're O'Connell's quarterbacking for them. So it could have. I guess you could say it could have gone either way, but I felt like the Chargers had a more solid team coming into this.
Yes,
and they just, people got fired because of the loss, man. Like that's
except one person, right?
That's all. That's all. That says it all. That says it all right there, man. So I feel like that was one that it was hard to see coming, but it was also one of those that was like a jaw dropping moment, man, where there was plays that the Raiders were making where it was like they had it set to easy mode. It was rough.
Yeah. What was it? 63-21 dub for the Raiders.
Yeah.
The Chargers didn't even look like they wanted to play.
Yeah, at a certain point, it was like they were their heads were already in the locker room. Like they're just like, get me out of here. Like get me out of here. I want to go home.
With the exception of Eckler. Eckler was like, they were still down by a ton, no matter how many they scored.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so excited to get the first down. He was like, first down. And
I guess at that point, somebody's got to come with the energy. If everyone's on that sideline, like just boo-hooing, like, yeah, someone's got to come with that energy, and even if it's not to get the dub, it's at least to make sure that your team isn't like in such a deep hole mentally. If the score is what it is, you can't change that.
Yeah.
You can always change your mind state, So
yeah, I get you. I just thought it was
credit him for that.
I thought it was a little funny.
It is. It's like how many of those Raiders players do you think just kept on pointing at the scoreboard? Like, you want to look up there real quick?
Hey man, do me a favor. Can you look that way?
What matters is I'm winning in here.
For sure. Next, man, hot quarterback going off right now, right? We got Bengals and Vikings with Browning leading the helm, bro. Like, how do you feel about that?
I honestly, when you see the playmaking that he's being able to conduct, it's kind of wild. He has Burrow-esque qualities coming from that backup position.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just from him watching and learning and being able to take notes and actually apply it, dude. Like, you see these guys on the sideline all the time, and the tablets or in the little huddles on the sideline, but a backup comes in and they're not able to replicate what, the starter is able to do. Hence the reason why they're a backup. But this dude being able to come in and still being able to drop dimes to his receivers and get them in those positions to be able to make a completion. Like, man, you see, if you look at some of those passes in that game, he was just getting to the best of his ability, getting the ball where it needed to be.
Yep.
And it was just kind of crazy to watch, to see a backup quarterback playing that well and consistently now too. Like this isn't just one game we're talking about, So I think they have something with him there, and at least it keep him alive until Burrow can potentially come back. And if he doesn't come back this season, they don't have to completely look at this season as a loss because now they know they got someone that can back him up,
Yeah, and they're going for a playoff push right now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
They're trying to make the playoffs. They're hungry. They're getting dubs when they need to get them the most. They just got to keep it consistent. It was a tight one with the Vikings. The Vikings didn't go down easily, but they were able to pull it off. Went up by 3 points. Not too bad, man. Not too bad. There was a team last week that we were kind of talking smack about, right? Which is the Lions.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah, I think we were a little down on the Lions a little too soon.
We were, and they came back. Now, granted, they played the Broncos. The Broncos were on a little bit of a roll. They have that fire in them. Not that they're playing for much.
Yeah.
But the Lions came out and smacked them in the face with the dub.
Oh yeah. So the Lions having those 2 divisional losses very recently, I just kind of felt like, man, are they starting this fall off? You see some teams towards the end of the season kind of lose a little bit of gas. And once you start seeing that, you're like, oh, well, where's this gonna go? So I think just kind of put them in that hole a little too soon. They went up against the Broncos, which I mean, they're not the hottest team around, but I mean, once they get things going, they can get it going. And I think the Lions just stomped that out immediately, and we're here to say, like, no, we are the team that everyone thought we were, So that's, I mean, it's scary for us because we gotta face them at the very end of the season, and who knows what that team's gonna look like then. But right now they're looking like they're back to form. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doubting you.
Yep.
I'm sorry for yelling. And let's see where they continue to go from here. Because if they get back on track, they're going to be solidified in the playoffs, but their seeding is going to be very dependent on how the other top 2 teams finish. So that's going to be interesting to see for real.
Got you. So Simba made the Broncos look like donkey, is what you said. Is what you're trying to say.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
cool,
Simba came through with that big king energy.
Yeah.
You put donkey on that bridge, they weren't looking down.
BKE, baby, BKE, big king energy. I love it. I love it, bro. Oh, man. Well, hey, man, the next game was actually a pretty good game. We had a chance to sit down and watch this, or stand up and watch it, or kind of clean up after my daughter and watch it.
Yeah, it was up and down. It was up and down, but we got to see the whole ride.
Yeah, the Texans and the Titans come out, right?
Yeah, man. And I mean,
let's talk about the disrespect first.
Honestly, I mean, they come out with those those Oilers jerseys against Houston. It's like, what you were doing when you did that.
Yep.
Come on now.
For those of you who don't know, I'm sure you guys mostly do, but in case you don't, the Oilers were originally from Houston before they relocated to Tennessee and became the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans went into Houston, right? Or was it in the Tennessee Titans at home, right? In Tennessee, where the Oilers uniform against the Houston Texans.
Yes.
Man, that's a slap in the face. And, they were, what is it, Straussless? Is that the right way? Is that the words we were using? Straussless?
Straussless.
So, like, they came in and we predicted, right? We both predicted that the Titans were going to triumph, right? They were going to.
Yeah, I mean, I was big on Will Levis, man. Like, he's just a competitor. He's one of those dudes that, like, once he gets going, he has that ice in his veins. He'll just keep that energy, keep that high level of energy. But then at a certain point, he gets injured, he goes down, and it was a pretty gnarly injury. So I mean, like, I hope the dude's okay.
Yes.
But they just couldn't pull it off in the end. But it was definitely a tight game, man. It was a pretty good game to watch.
Was it 1916, right? Texans win OT.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So overall, close game. Good job, Texans. Believe in you guys. We've got to represent Texas teams, unfortunately, because we're from Texas. But I support the Texans over the Cowboys. I see you heard it here first. Official Cowboy hater. But I guess it also makes me a lover of them because I watch.
I'm just glad that we have the other Texas team in the AFC. Like, y'all stay over there.
Y'all stay over there. We're good. We're good.
Don't come mess with the NFC.
It'd be really cool to see a Cowboys
all Texas
Super Bowl in Texas would be.
Yeah, there would be a lot of strings being pulled in now.
But hey, man, I want to talk about another hot quarterback going on right now, right? Which is Baker Mayfield.
Ooh, yeah, big body Baker.
Man, he just came off of the game of his life in Lambeau
Hmm.
with a perfect quarterback rating.
Oh yeah, I feel like Baker has always had that energy and that potential. In the past, I feel like he uh kind of tried to do a little too much. Maybe he just didn't have the right team around him. I don't know exactly what culminated in him being moved to Tampa, but obviously the Browns were out on him. He goes to Tampa. He's put together a couple of good games, but this last one was just it was good to see him get in, like, I feel like it's a mature form where he's coming into his own. He's understanding how he plays the game. He's maturing as a quarterback and as an NFL player. And man, I like seeing Baker win. I feel like the NFL is better when Baker's winning games because he brings a certain energy to a team, to a field, to a highlight reel. You start watching the highlights of NFL Sunday and you see Baker on there and you're just like, yes, like get that.
Hey man, who knows? Maybe they might come out of the NFC South and
I mean, they're looking like probably the better team down there. So
if he keeps playing like that, he will. He only missed 6 passes off of 381 yards. Right? That's crazy. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
That's huge.
Right?
That's huge.
He took 5 sacks, but hey, credit to him. He caught up and dusted himself off and went big. And again, like I said, a perfect rating at 158.3 QB rating.
That's wow.
Insane. And pulling off the dub, more importantly, because you can have a great game as a quarterback and lose.
Oh yeah,
and he won. Right?
Oh yeah, I think that's the song. I'm really happy for him and him pulling out that win. Hopefully he keeps that going to the rest of the season and see Baker in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, well, they're 7-7 right now, man. They got 3 games left to see what happens.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh yeah,
but good job, Baker. Now we got to talk about the midday game on Sunday, which I hate to tell you, man. Like,
yeah, it was.
What happened, man? And those boys.
I know I blacked out halfway through it.
You're right. You're right.
I was stress drinking.
Yes. I think you were laughing a lot. Actually, I think it was just hysterical.
Yeah, I was just. Yeah, it was a loss that I wasn't expecting to be so bad. A loss is a loss, it goes in the loss column and you can't do anything about it as a team, especially as a fan, You just gotta bear witness to the atrocity that was that game because the Cowboys came out extremely flat. They couldn't get anything going. Penalties ruin any opportunity that they have of getting back into the game. You have the dumb penalty on the potentially blocked punt. But that was even after a penalty, personal foul penalty on an offensive lineman by Noah. It was unsportsmanlike conduct when they hit Dak in the head.
Oh, yeah.
The lineman came over. He's defending his quarterback. I do understand it. Yes. So I do understand where he's coming from. But at that point, they had already thrown the flag, man. Take your 15 yards. And then because of that, they weren't able to advance the ball a little bit further, put them in better scoring position. And, they end up settling for field goal after field goal. And it's just like, man, where how are you going to keep up with a Bills team? That's just, they're putting it in your face. They're running it down your throat. They finished the game with nearly 200 yards rushing with one player.
Yes.
There was no dual threat happening here. There was Josh Allen, I think, completed a 7 passes the entire game, 7 passes the entire game. And they beat you with that score. It's a little unreal, man.
Yeah. I mean, Cook going wild.
Yeah.
Total offensive yard was like 227.
Yes. They just kept feeding him the ball. I mean, if it keeps working, why stop?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. And the run defense was not there. And that's something that has I feel hindered the Cowboys, and they've been able to hide it really well this season because they haven't faced a ton of extremely potent running offenses. And the last one that they really did was the Niners. And look what the Niners did to them,
Yep.
The Philly game at this point, I feel like it's more of the fact that Philly is not in form. They're not in the same form that they were playing in. They've kind of had these tough wins and toughing it out. And now we got to face a Philly team that wasn't at their full strength. Granted, any given Sunday, you have to show up and show out. But Philly didn't run the ball on us the way that I expected them to, and they're a pretty decent running team.
With Swift and Boston Scott.
For sure, man. Like they could have done a lot more damage. But this game here was a rough scene, man. Like it was a rough scene. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around for that loss. It's tough, and I could talk on and on and on, and on about it. But honestly, at that point, I'm just hurting myself.
Oh my goodness. Well, I gotta be honest. There's some good to take away from this, right? One, Aubrey. He's what?
He's clutch, man. He is.
How many is that straight now?
Clutch, man.
It's like
straight. He's
field goals, not extra points.
Yeah, he's missed a few extra points. Yeah, straight. I think he's going on a 20 or 23 straight.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
bro.
he set an NFL record, all-time record at that. And he's an old rookie, but he's a rookie in the, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So he's probably the most consistent part of this team right now. Yeah, definitely the most consistent part of this team. And that's something that, getting into the playoffs, especially last season, that we missed some field goals that could have kept us in some games. And we were able to pull out a win against the Bucks, but then we all know how that season
He's
ended.
31 for 31.
31 for 31. There we go. There it is.
Holy shnikes, man. That's insane. Now granted, I can go for it all day, but 50 plus yardage. He's 8 for 8, dog.
50 plus. And then I think he's like 3 for 3 from 60.
It doesn't say, it just say his longest is 60.
There it is.
So that's crazy. Like, that's nuts, man. Like a senior rookie is what I would call it. But
no, for sure. I mean, his story is kind of crazy too, kind of playing in the MLS, and then he plays a little bit of, some professional football in the CFL, I believe, or the USFL. And then he just kind of decides, you know what, I'm going to go try out for a kicking position in the NFL, and not only a kicking position, but he ends up playing for the Dallas Cowboys, biggest team in the NFL.
Yep.
So to be able to not let the light shine too bright for you and be able to be that consistent factor throughout the season when there's been inconsistencies, we have a winning record right now. That's great. But defense has been inconsistent. The offense has not shown up when they needed to in some games, but just having him, he's our beacon, man. He's our lighthouse right now. I'm just.
Hey, that's a silver lining, man.
Yes,
like he got you on the board.
Aubrey for president, dog.
Yeah, easy. President of the Cowboys, maybe. Anyway, but and then of course you got the Bills, right? The Bills fighting for that playoff spot, 8-6 right now.
Oh yeah, they definitely needed to get that win. For sure.
They have if I'm not mistaken, they have some pretty heavy contenders going towards the end. I lied to you. They play the Dolphins, and then the other two are irrelevant. You got the Patriots. I mean, the Chargers. You got the Patriots, and then you got the Dolphins in the season. So they need some help, but they need help from the Cowboys.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
They need help from the Cowboys to beat the Dolphins, and then have them lose one more, and hopefully they can. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean that Dolphins game for them is going to be tough, but like their divisional games are always tough. It's a matter of who shows up with the X factor that day, because if they're playing like if they keep playing the way they played against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are supposed to be a top team in the NFL, right? And that's what everybody's talking about is the play at quarterback and how Dak is doing, and the defense, how scary they can be when they play the way they can play. But they made the Cowboys look worse than average. Like it was pretty bad. So if they can finish out the season that's in that same fashion, I mean, there's no reason not to see them in the postseason and for them to be a formidable opponent for anybody in the postseason. Yeah.
I think if they go with them going into the postseason with the role that they have, if they can finish strong, it doesn't matter if they go in as a 7 seed or a 4 seed or really that would be the highest, would be a 4 seed. Like it doesn't matter. They're going to come in with that playoff mentality, and I think they're playing with it now. I think that's what Josh Allen said was like every game is a playoff game right now.
Yeah, and then towards the end of the season when you're fighting for a playoff spot, absolutely, it's like you got to think of every game like a win or go home game.
Yep.
I think the only factor for them or stat that works against them is that they're way better at home than they are on the road. But that's the same thing with the Cowboys too. Those are two teams that are way better at home, and I mean the way the seeding is going to play out, both of them would have to play away.
Yes.
We still have to see how everything's going to play out. Seeding can change in an instant, but for the Bills, on the most part, they're going to be playing away.
Yeah,
So,
I think so. I think so too. Now, there's one more question I got for your Cowboys, man. Like,
okay.
do you think the mentality of saying, "Hey, it's all right for this game. We'll make it up next game, or we're going to be ready, better prepared next game"? Like, how long can a team keep saying that? Not just the Cowboys, but any team.
I'm getting a little exhausted of the reactive mentality instead of being proactive. Instead of going out and knowing we're playing a really tough team, let's go out there and play them the way that we have played in the past, because there's no reason for them to not be competitive in this game. If you lose, you lose.
Yep.
But I mean, losing in a fourth quarter, last possession type game or in an overtime game is so much different than losing by 20 points, bro. Like it's 21 points, That's a 3-score game, and it wasn't even that close. Like I'm going to be honest, it was always, it looked out of their reach from the very beginning. I feel like if the Cowboys don't get a quick start to a game, it's very, very hard for them to come back. The only time we saw an example of them playing from behind was against Seattle. They were able to pull off that win in the end, which was, a huge win for them because it got them over that hump of like, oh, they can't beat a above 500 team.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, Seattle isn't one of the best teams. They still could potentially be a playoff team. But they have played some really tough games, but then you go against Buffalo, this happens, and then you get the same statements from the main guys in the locker room. You have players saying like, you know what, we're gonna play harder. This won't happen to us again. I mean, I feel like there was a statement that Micah had made again when we had played the Packers, and we went down 2 scores, and then we end up losing the game, and Micah stated, if that gives us a 2-score lead, we're not going to allow them to come back on us. And like 2 weeks later, they did that exact same thing. That was last season. This is this season. This season feels different, but then it feels the same again, And I mean, I feel like I said it on the last episode is like, we're always waiting for, as a Cowboy fan, you're always waiting for that other shoe to drop. It was like, okay, this season's going really good. When is it going to get bad for us? It hasn't, the sky is not falling. The season isn't over by any means. We're still definitely a playoff team. It just depends where we're going to be seated. I personally would prefer to have home field advantage. That's any team, but I don't want to go play. I don't want to go play in Santa Clara, bro. I don't want to be out there. I really don't. I mean, I don't mind them going to Philly. We've shown we can win in Philly. We have not shown that we can win in Cali over there against the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
So just depending on how they finish out the season. But right now, it's just one of those things where it's just so tiring to see them get beat in a certain fashion, then have the same reaction. I feel like there has to be some kind of a change in the locker room mentality, maybe when it comes to coaching. I honestly don't put a ton of blame on Mike McCarthy himself. I do feel like there was a lot of mismanaged moments in the game that I feel like, why would you do that right now? It's 3rd and 1. Why are you tossing a bomb down the field? I don't get it. Yeah. But then you look back on the game and you see that Dak checks out of the play. So he called the bomb down the field. So he saw something that nobody else has seen. Obviously, he's looking at it from a professional quarterback's perspective. You want to respect that, but it's like, just get the first down, bro. Get the first down and then live to fight another down.
Or suck up your pride and go long on 3rd down and then go with the tush push, bro.
Oh my God.
I mean, if any other line can do it, it has to be Dallas, man.
Well, I feel like we definitely have a quarterback that has the size for it. The only thing that worries me is that Philly's gotten so good at it, is that they've managed to find a way to not get injured performing that play. And it's one of those plays, like when you hear the players talk about it, they're like, it kind of sucks. Like you're under a pile of a bunch of fucking dudes, and you don't know if someone's going to step on you, if someone's going to just pancake you against the floor. Like there's some times where you see Kelsey like underneath everybody, and he just is the last guy to get up, and it's like, that's got to be not a very fun position to be in.
Yep.
So it scares me because we're so finicky at our offensive line, where it's like, let's say they perform it, and then we lose an offensive lineman for the rest of the year,
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like, if you're not, they haven't become proficient enough at it. I really feel like there's no other team in the NFL that's become that good at it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So I mean, in our reality, it's 3rd and 1. Like there's no reason. I mean, all statistics say that you should be able to get that first down, right? Mm-hmm. But it's the play calling in that moment is what counts. And I just feel like that was a very poor decision, whether it was McCarthy or Dak. I mean, you look at the film, you could say, well, he checks out of the play, but There was just so many things that happened. I feel like Mike McCarthy's time management has shown up in some weird ways throughout the season. Definitely last season, they've gotten a little bit better, but there's times where you're like, there's a certain amount of time left before halftime. You can still go get a score, and then they're just cool with letting the clock run out. And it's like, those are the types of things that I feel separate you from teams once you get deep into the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I mean, we'll see what happens with them, right? We'll see what happens with the Cowboys. See how they recover from this loss. You guys have the Miami next week, right?
Yes.
We'll talk about here in a bit
for sure.
But the late game Sunday, right? We have Jags versus the Ravens.
Yeah.
2 divisional leaders, right? Well, obviously 1 conference leader, right? Like the Ravens leading the conference, and really, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if they're 1 or 2 in the entire NFL right now, but as far as overall, but number 1 in the conference with the Ravens versus the division leader Jags, and I mean, it doesn't even look like the Jags are a divisional leader that game.
No, I picked the Jags. I wanted the Jags to win because, you when you see a team that's playing so well, you're like, there has to be a way to beat them, and it gives other teams a little bit of a blueprint, for lack of a better term, but it gives them an ability to see, okay, this is how you are able to beat them. I feel like the Jags have been playing pretty well. Trevor Lawrence, he's no pushover, man. He's a pretty decent quarterback. They have good players on that roster, and I just thought, the Jags could pull it off. They've pulled out crazier victories before, so I was I was rooting for them. But the Ravens, again, they just show that, they are the team to beat in the AFC, and they have a really important game coming up, which, we're going to talk about also. But I just feel like they're just too good right now. And Lamar Jackson, when he's playing good, he's playing good. Like it's not even close.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see him play a quarterback, like a traditional throwing quarterback. Because in that game, I saw a bunch of opportunities for the old Lamar to take off and start running, chopping away and getting those yards and those big gains. And bro, he was staying in the pocket, and he went back into the pocket after scrambling out to go throw it. Like he's developing into from a running quarterback to a mobile quarterback to now having almost being a pocket scrambler, like crazy. I don't know, man. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and he had kind of made some statements preseason saying that, I want to show everybody that I'm not just a running quarterback. I'm not any other thing than a quarterback. And he's showing that. He's showing that he can stand in that pocket. And what's dangerous is that, so now you want to contain him in the pocket, but if you start playing that Lamar, it's like at any moment he could just turn into, running gun Lamar, so he just takes off on you. And I think he's adding more tools to his tool belt. And sooner or later he's just going to be like Batman, bro. He's throwing out smoke bombs and batarangs and bat claws. Like he's going to be all over the place with it, and that's a very difficult thing to defend. And we've seen quarterbacks like that have success in the past. Patrick Mahomes, man, he's that type. Of course, he doesn't have the same quickness and agility as Lamar, but he's athletic, and athletic quarterbacks that can make you miss, that can make you second guess yourself. Like that's a very hard thing to defend against. And Lamar is becoming definitely one. I feel like he's a Hall of Famer now already with what he's accomplished. And at that position, I just feel like, he gets that ring and he's solidified,
Absolutely. I think so too, man. He's very fun to watch, right?
For sure.
It makes it enjoyable. I like seeing his progressions and just seeing like what he's going to, because he's still young in the league, right?
Oh yeah.
To see what he's going to do these next coming years is going to be insane. And I don't want to write off the season for him because they very well may go to the Super Bowl.
Definitely. Definitely one of the favorites.
Unless the script comes to life, which we won't get into that right now. I'm not down to
colors of the logos.
Yeah.
People conspiring. And there's a lot of theories out there. But
unless something like that takes over, like I don't see anybody really stopping the Ravens from the AFC. I just don't.
No.
Not the Chiefs this year, unfortunately.
I think the Chiefs defense was kind of showing some promise, and then they have a couple of bad games. And then, you have the Patrick Star tantrum after that Bills game, and it's one of the it's kind of you're not seeing that frustration from the Ravens right now. The Ravens right now, they're flying high, no pun intended, but they really are up there with their confidence level, the level of play, and I don't see anybody on that side of the NFL that's going to really compete with them. But surprises happen, things happen, and especially when it comes time for playoffs. I mean, there's teams that have pulled off some crazy outcomes in the playoffs. I mean, the wild card Giants ended up going to the Super Bowl and beating Tom Brady at one point. So things can happen. Things can happen.
Well, I mean, they do have 3 losses right this year, and the losses came from the Steelers, which we know that they're not the same team. Came from the Colts, which we know they're not the same team as there. But the only team I think that has their number or can have their number is the Browns, man.
The Browns always play them super, super hard. The Browns have, kind of turned on this second life engine in them, having Flacco have this resurgence. He's a quarterback that's been there before, so it's cool to see that. But honestly, I mean, Myles Garrett, bro, on the defensive side, like he's a candidate for MVP of the league. And it's rare when you have a defensive player up for that kind of award, definitely defensive MVP. I mean, him right up there with Micah, but I mean, Myles Garrett just consistently
MVP.
Yeah, so consistently just bringing that heat. I feel like offensive linemen are terrified of him. I feel like quarterbacks are even more terrified of him because he is definitely one of those defenders right up there, with prime Aaron Donald, where you see that guy coming and it's oh my god. Yeah, so I think the Browns could potentially be one of the teams to knock them off.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Ravens got 2 tough games coming ahead, right? They have the Niners,
yes,
and then they have the Dolphins.
The Dolphins, yeah.
So that's 2 tough games, but that's tough games for both sides, right? Ravens, Niners, definitely. Ravens, Dolphins. So yeah, we'll see what they measure up to when playing the number 1 team in the NFC and playing another divisional leader back right after that. So let's see what transpires, but. I really don't want to talk about this game.
I called this one right. And it was more out of spite than anything. But I mean, it worked out in my favor. So.
Yeah, with 39 seconds or whatever was left in the game, bro. Whatever. Seahawks, Eagles, man. Heartbreaker for me. Great upset for you.
Oh, for sure.
But I gotta say, man, like the Eagles just aren't looking the same. Like it's. I was talking to a few of my colleagues that are also Philly fans. And one of them just happens to live in Philly.
Okay.
They both do, actually. And it's one, the defense is almost too afraid to make a mistake. I know they're injured. Secondary is injured, right? And we have Maddox coming back soon. But it's like the defense is too afraid to make a mistake in the secondary. Okay. Which I think most defenses are, but don't be afraid to make the call that you think was the right call, right? If you're as a player, right, you get paid to do that.
Definitely.
No matter the coaching. 2, the receivers are getting frustrated, right? They're not getting the ball where it's catchable unless it's within 20 yards. Other than that, we're throwing picks right now. We're underthrowing it, undershooting it. There's plenty of plays that we had the opportunity to score and we just couldn't get it there. Now, was Jalen sick? Probably. Was he feeling bad? Probably. But if that's the case, sit down, man.
Yeah.
Sit down, let your body recover. Don't put yourself through that strain, not only physically, but also mentally, right? You just received another loss to a under 500 team. That, yes, or actually, I think they were over, or they were 6-7. They became 7-7. And so under 500 team, they don't have a backup. They don't have a starting QB, so they had their backup, which rightfully so, I think, could be a starting QB and maybe another team.
Yeah, I mean, he showed some promise.
Absolutely, but like you have Hurts that's just almost flustered every play. Like he's not taking a deep breath and saying, "Hey, what's going on?" You can see his breath. Like he was having a hard time catching his breath, which means you can't have that confidence to go long, right? But hats off to the Seahawks, man. Staying relevant not only in the season, but in the game, keeping it close enough to become within striking distance. And last but not least, pulling it off with a backup QB, throwing it to the receiver on the end, saying, "Hey," and practicing it. Right, the receiver was like, "We practice." As I said, if I'm ever 1-on-1, it's a tie game situation. Throw me the ball, and he delivered.
Almost definitely. I feel like the Seahawks have a solid receiving core.
Mhm.
And as long as you have a quarterback that can put that ball anywhere close to their hands, they're going to make a play. I mean, Metcalf is a beast.
Oh my
Like
God,
he's
man.
just one of those receivers where, even when he's not open, he's open kind of a thing,
Yes.
He'll go up there and he'll fight for that ball. He'll make something happen.
Mhm.
Tyler Lockett is no schlub either, like he's a baller.
Yeah.
So you have the combination of those two receivers and a quarterback that's able to put the ball in their hands. I feel like, they have the potential to win any game that they play, but I mean, looking at the Eagles sitting at the 1 seed for a little bit and then getting knocked down, and then now they're on like a decline, and they can lose the 2 seed.
Yep.
You have the Lions creeping up, you have the Cowboys creeping up. As far as the Eagles, I mean, they have probably the best setup to have a get right game kind of instantaneously, but they've lost 3 in a row. That's rough for any team.
Yep.
But I mean, you guys got the Cardinals coming up, and then the Giants twice, and the Cardinals.
It's Giants, Cardinals, Giants.
There you go. So the potential to win out the rest of the season is totally there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not a Philly fan, but as a Philly fan, you're kind of thinking like, well, shit, can we win these games? Like, because the Seahawks should have been a game that you should have won. Geno Smith is not playing. You got Drew Lock at quarterback, so there's no reason for that defensive line to not be in his face. There's no reason for Jalen Hurts to kind of get up on points, to give the defense the opportunity to start rushing that backup quarterback, put some pressure on him. None of those things happen. Whether or not Jalen is ill, whether he's injured, I do feel like give your team the best opportunity to win.
Yep.
And if you are not, you're not going to be able to play at 100%,
Yep.
then, let someone step up for you, give you the opportunity to get right. So that way, if you lose with your backup, I mean, a loss is a loss, said it before. But at least you're not putting yourself at jeopardy, and you're giving your team that opportunity to kind of show what they have. And then, I mean, because right now the blame is going to go all the way around, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go from coaching. It's going to go from top to bottom. They're going to look at the turnovers over the last few weeks, and that's been a big factor.
They didn't fumble this week though. I guess the practice worked.
Yeah. They were practicing that. They were practicing falling on the ball. They were practicing not fumbling. But I mean, as the season goes on, knowing you're going to be in the postseason, like there's things that if you got to correct them, now is the absolute time to do it. And that goes for a lot of teams that have been facing that adversity. You see this happen. You see this happen with the Eagles, the Cowboys. You saw the Lions, and then now they get their win. But the one team that hasn't really shown any signs of weakness is the 49ers.
Yep.
Right. And that's on the NFC side. But as we get into talking into the season, the upcoming week, we're going to be able to see what could potentially
They're really
bring
made
them
of,
down.
man.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
that's going to be huge, and we'll see what happens with the Eagles. And I don't think it's just about getting the dubs this next 3 games. I think that should be a given, but it's about how they win, right? And that's what was really going to dictate to Eagles fans or to us or to really the league. Are we going to be able to compete in the playoffs? It doesn't matter what the regular season is. And granted, when you get to the postseason and you earned your way in, great, kudos, high five. Wow. Yeah. But it doesn't matter after that point, right? Teams have shown time and time out again that just because you're the number 1 seed doesn't mean you're not going to lose in the second round.
Means absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, just getting into the playoffs, that's step 1. And then you have games that you need to win to get to that championship game. And I mean, you guys have been there and you've lost, but you've been there and you've won. So I feel, I guess my biggest question to you is, how confident do you feel in getting those wins? Are they secured? I think as far as the rest of the season, the regular season.
Okay, regular season. I think as long as nothing stupid happens in the Giants divisional games, as we know, divisional games are divisional games.
For sure.
As long as nothing stupid happens, I think we have those games on lock. Realistically, I do. The game that I'm worried about is the Cardinals. Okay. Because, and there's only one reason. Not because they beat the Cowboys. I know you probably thought I was going to go there. It's not where I'm going. But it's just simply because How did they keep it that close with the Niners until the last quarter?
Mm,
But Philly has shown time and time again recently that they can't finish the game out, right? They just can't finish the game out. And if they can't finish the game strong, and if the Cardinals have an opportunity to catch us, they're going to take it,
yeah, definitely.
right? I mean, we already lost to one bird, right? We lost to the Seahawks.
Yeah,
Who's to say we're not going to lose against the Cardinals, right?
yeah, man.
They're underdogs for a reason, but I think if we're going to lose one, it's going to lose one of the Cardinals. But I have to hope that we're going to win the two in the division, so at least it puts us in a good spot. Not saying you guys are going to lose, but if you guys were to lose one more and we lose one, but we beat the Giants, then we take the division. But again, I don't know if I want to take the number 2 seed or if I want to take the number 5 seed. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Right. But all right, man. So we'll talk about predictions this week going into week 16. You want to call out the games?
For sure. So
let's start with Thursday's game.
So first up, we got Saints and Rams on Thursday night.
Oof. I'm gonna go Rams on that one, man.
Yeah, the Rams. I feel like they could pull that one out. I'm gonna go with Rams on that one also.
Okay.
So then after that, we got two pretty tough ones on Saturday. So you got the Bengals Steelers. That's a divisional game. The Steelers, they've shown to kind of be a little bit of a wild card when it comes to those divisional games. When it comes to just games in general, they pull out some crazy wins. But
yeah,
who do you got?
Right? Let's pick it, right? Is the QB?
No, actually, starting quarterback for the Steelers now. Oh yeah, it looks like Pickett is going to start because he did not play the last game.
Got you. I'm gonna go Bengals on that one.
You go with Bengals.
I'm gonna go Bengals on that one. Mm-hmm. And then I think the following one, there's 2 Saturdays, right?
Yeah. So then the next one is going to be Bills and Chargers.
I'm gonna go Bills.
Okay.
What do you call it?
So yeah, I'm gonna go Bills on that one also. And then, I mean, this is one that for me, I gotta pick my boys, but it's the boys against the Dolphins. So that's gonna be.
Wait, so who'd you pick for the Bengals game?
Bengals game, I got the Bengals.
Bengals, got you.
Yes.
I'll make sure I write this stuff down and you'll see why in a little bit. So boys and Dolphins, right?
Yes, sir.
Dude, I gotta believe that I want to hope that the Dolphins are gonna pull it off, but I'm gonna have to go with the boys on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick my boys just because they need this win. Because two losses in a row to two really good teams that are really going to shoot down their confidence level, and we cannot have that happen going into the playoffs. And it's not like they have an easy game after that. They got to go in and play the Lions. I mean, they finished off with the Commanders, whatever, but like that Lions game is going to be super important depending on how they finish out this Dolphins game. But I got to pick them. I got to pick them to win.
And what better feeling than to go? What other city do you want to play in? Right, you want to play in Miami, dog, and win in Miami, and then go out afterwards.
And the weather's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be beautiful. God. You got that outdoor weather. You got that beautiful Miami view. Yeah. So the vibe should be right for them to win. So then after that, we got Browns and Texans.
Oof.
Yeah, that one's interesting. You want to pick that one first, or
I'm gonna go with the Browns.
Got you. I agree with that pick.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, so we got Browns over Texans. We agree on that one, and then we got the Commanders and Jets. That's a little tough, man. Because I mean, I picked the Jets, and they got shite
manhandled.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm gonna have to go with the Commanders on that one.
Commanders over the Jets. You know what? The Jets have one more win than the Commanders. So I'm gonna pick the Jets again, man. I just feel like the Commanders are they're like a community college team. They do play some teams hard, but I'm gonna go with the Jets again, and hopefully they don't let me down this time.
All right, sounds good.
All right, and then we got Seahawks Titans. That's gotta be a pretty interesting one to call.
Where are you going with that one?
Me personally, Seahawks Titans, man. I'm gonna go with the Titans. They had a tough loss I might regret it because I'm pretty sure Will Levis isn't playing. Tannehill's going to be back in. But I really think if they lean on that running game, let Derrick Henry carry some of the load, it'll open up the receivers. And yeah, I mean, the Seahawks are flying pretty high, but maybe they come in with a little bit too much confidence.
Were they playing Tennessee?
They are playing in Tennessee, yes.
I'm gonna pick the Seahawks on that one. And the reason why is that they don't want to be written off, man. They're trying to make that push for the playoffs. They don't want they're in the hardest division going underneath the Niners, right? So I'm gonna go with the Seahawks on that one. But let's see if the Titans are able to pull it off. I hope so, but I like the Titans.
So you're picking
Seahawks.
Seahawks. Got you. So Titans, Seahawks. And then after that, we got two. I mean, you got Colts and Falcons. Falcons are playing pretty bad right now. Colts, I mean, they pulled off some wins, but that one's a little tough to call. But who do you got?
I got Colts on that one.
Yeah, I do too.
Cool.
Okay, and then right after that, Packers, Panthers.
That one's easy for me, man. Let's go with the cheesehead, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick Packers on that one too. No more wild card picks. So after the Packers Panthers game, we got Lions and Vikings. It's a divisional game.
I'm gonna have to go with the easy decision. Not easy decision. For me, I guess it would be an easy decision. Would be the Lions.
Yeah, I got to pick the Lions too. I don't see them losing 3 divisional games.
Yeah,
that would be really tough for them. That put them in a pretty tough spot. I feel like they go out there with a mentality that they must win this game, even if they still have playoff seeding. Yeah, I don't think they want to lose this one. So I'm gonna pick the Lions with that one also. Then you got Jags and Bucks.
Oof, I'm going with the Bucks on this one.
Oh, you're riding with the Bucks?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I know I talk Baker up a lot.
I was gonna say, bro, you love that guy right now.
I do, man. I really do. So you know what? I'm gonna ride with the Bucks too, man. I'm hoping for Baker to have a good game. Just keep riding that confidence going into the playoffs, man.
Yes,
if they're able to make it in. So we got Bucks there. Then we got Cardinals Bears. Those are two, pretty bad teams.
I'm probably gonna rock with the Bears on that one.
You go with the Bears again?
Yeah.
All right.
They're gonna come through for me. But maybe Kyler Murray, man. Kyler Murray's is staying hot through 3 quarters.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna ride with the Cardinals on this one, man. I want to see the Cardinals pull off a win. Let's see if they get some confidence, and then they can ride that into their game against the Eagles.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cards on that one. And then we got Patriots Broncos.
Oh
yeah.
The Patriots were a letdown for me this season, man. Like I really thought that was it Mac Jones was going to come through. Was going to have a strong season, but I'm going to have to ride with Russell, man, on this one. So the Broncos. Yeah,
I picked the Broncos too, just because, man, the Patriots just haven't seemed to be able to get any kind of momentum going. So I'm going to ride with the Broncos on that one for sure. And then crazy enough, we have 3 Monday night games.
Yeah, I was going to say, where my Eagles at, dog?
3 games on Christmas. So that's going to be a fun Christmas. Mm-hmm. We got Raiders Chiefs. So I know Chiefs for you have a little bit of a bias. So if you pick, someone's gonna come after you.
I'm gonna have to go with the upset on that one. I think the Raiders are just in to ruin the season.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with the Raiders on that one.
Yeah, man. I mean, the way that they manhandled the Chargers, like they got this like ray of ultra instinct energy going on where, man, they were just picking things off. They were just rushing the quarterback like crazy. The Chiefs are good, man, but I mean, I think Antonio Pierce brought in an energy to that locker room that is they're kind of riding that lightning as far as they can. So I'm gonna pick the Raiders too, and that's gonna be a pretty big upset if they're able to pull that off. So
Yep.
I'm going with the Raiders over the Chiefs, and then we got Giants Eagles.
Gotta go with my Birds, man. No doubt about that one.
Yeah, so
And they're playing in Philly?
they are playing in Philly, yes.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Birds.
Yep, Lincoln Financial. So
21-10.
21-10, you're calling the score?
You call it score
21-10 only? I guess the Giants.
Hey, let me get the dub first before we even start talking about how much we're gonna win by. I need to win by big, but if I need their defenses to be better than the offense. No matter how much they score, I need them to hold the Giants to 10 points. Like, that's what I need.
Yeah, definitely. I think that defense does need that confidence, knowing that they can hold, a pretty terrible team. Honestly, they're not playing very great right now. They have DeVito at quarterback. So, let's if that defense can hold them to a minimal score, that's going to help them further down the line. I know I did the last week. I did the spike pick with the Seahawks, and that did me good. But I mean, I think this one's got to be obvious, man. I think that the Eagles are going to pull off the win here. They need to sweep the Giants, just the same way that we need to sweep the Commanders. Even though it's at the end of the season, I feel like that losing that game is going to set us up for something bad later.
Yeah, I mean, if look at it this way, if we lose the Giants game, the first one, you know how much confidence that gives the Cowboys to go into Washington to beat them?
Oh, for sure.
Because they know that if they beat them, no matter if they have the same record or not, if they beat them, they are 5-1 in the division, and they own the division at that point.
Yes, absolutely.
So I get we need to win the first one, at least to put a little bit of some weight on the Cowboys.
Yes.
And then after that, what's in God's hands. But what do we finish up with?
So then I think this has probably got to be the most interesting game of probably the season, to be honest. You got Ravens and Niners, and I believe this game is in Santa Clara. Levi Stadium. So that one's super interesting, man. I mean, these two got to be at this point Super Bowl favorites.
Yep.
They got to be favorites to win the whole thing. On either side, it's tough to call. If the Super Bowl was if this game was the Super Bowl, who would you have winning, right? This could be a potential preview to what the Super Bowl could be. We just talked about how Lamar looks pretty unstoppable right now. We've seen how unstoppable the Niners can be. But granted, I mean, they have lost. Both teams have lost 3 times. They're both 11-3, so they are beatable. They are beatable teams. This is just going to be a matter of who plays who harder.
If I'm being honest with you, the team I wrote down right now was the Ravens, but I don't think I can go with the Ravens on that.
Okay.
Now that I'm thinking about it and I'm starting to dwell on it, who have the Ravens beat so far?
I mean, as far as
because right now we look
teams.
at it right now, right? So they've beat the Texans, they beat the Bengals, which the Bengals aren't the same Bengals, right? They beat the Browns pretty heavily early on and then lost to them.
I mean, they won against the Lions.
They beat the Lions.
And they beat them pretty badly too,
38-6. So that's a staple win for sure.
Yeah, that's a good team to pull that big of a win off against. I really do feel like that does say something.
But then it was close with the Rams, right? So they really, other than Lions, a top pedigree team, they lost against the Browns with the Browns now, right? When I say now, it was 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, but I wrote down the Ravens, but I'm going to have to change my pick and put the Niners, man.
Okay. All right.
What's yours, man? What are you calling?
I am going to go with the Ravens on this one, man, because I think I've stated this before. Not sure if I stated it on the previous episode, but I do feel like the Niners, when it comes to scrambling quarterbacks, I don't know if they faced anybody like Lamar. I know we talk about him being a pocket present quarterback now, But I mean, if he sees an open field to run, he's going to take it. And I don't know if the Niners can keep up with him. They do have some high flyers. They got some people on defense. Mufunga. They got, Fred Warner. They got some guys that can move around and maybe keep up with them. But I mean, when you got his receivers playing the way that they're playing, you really want to lock them down. And if you over focus on one area, I mean, Lamar's the type that he's going to make you pay, man. And I think the Ravens want to show that they are that team. Lamar wants to show that he is him. And I think this game is a big opportunity for them to show it. I got to pick the Ravens. My question for you, do we want to call out a score on this game?
No.
No.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
Okay.
Because I think, I'm going to be honest, if I don't know if they've played a defense that's as good as the Niners. And I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. If I'm being honest, I want to call like a 20-17 game if I do make a call. But they're so high powered offenses, both of them. The defense of the Niners is crazy. I don't even know where the defense of the Ravens ranks right now. But 20-17 if it's a defensive game. If not, it's going to be a blowout, like all offense. But Niners haven't shown to let that happen.
That is a fact. That is a fact. I mean, I think it might not be, 30-point, 40-point game, but I think it's going to be one of those that stays in the 20s. Whoever gets to the higher 20s wins. If I call it, I'm probably thinking 21-28 in favor of the Ravens.
Win, okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those last possession games, man, where it's really going to come down to who has the ball at the end of the game.
Yep. I agree. But viewers, we're not that good at guessing. And the reason I'm saying that is because we only had 6 wins from our picks from last week.
This is a fact.
And because of that, we're both losers. We don't like to end in a draw, so we're both losers. So Zach has a little
so because we both now we're gonna have to drink it up and we're gonna take a shot of tequila, and it's not either one of our favorites, but it is a good tequila, I will tell you that.
Sure.
I'm a whiskey guy myself. I know you are too.
Yep.
But this is punishment for just blowing it last week. I think this week our picks are a little
safer.
A little safer. I feel like we tried to go with like an upset week. That did not happen. So let's go ahead and.
What are we drinking today? What is this?
This right here. This is Diamante Tequila, 100% agave.
Got it. All right.
Diamante. Hey, bro. If it has a name like that, it's got to be
good or something like that.
And if it's not, I'm calling them up.
If not, you at least got to feel their emotions.
All right. So there you go. That's yours.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
All right,
man. Well, here's to another good week. Here's to another good guesses, and hopefully we get more than 6 wins. By the way, loser next week takes 2 shots.
Oh, no.
Oh,
cheers, brother.
Blue, man.
Well,
actually, wasn't that bad.
Not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
Pretty nice.
Starting to taste rubbing alcohol right now, but we'll worry about that later.
Yeah. Got to chase it down with that.
Good job.
Help.
All right.
Here we go.
So transitioning over to the NBA. 2 things I want to talk about today. One, the Clippers are on a rampage right now. I mean, Harden. This last game, Harden, wild. George, wild. Kawhi, wild.
Yes.
Totaling for 90 points, just them 3.
That is insane, man. I mean, you play like that, who's going to stop you? If you continue to play like that. They've been on a pretty solid win streak. I do feel that, man, I've been super tough on Harden in the past, just, in conversation. I just feel like he just doesn't, I know he's a good player. We all know he's a good player. I just don't, I always felt like he didn't have that competitive edge because he just didn't care about winning per se. He just goes out there. Goes out there, plays for him, gets his points, gets his contract, and he kind of plays more for the celebrity of it all than he does for the game itself. And he's recently he's been proving me wrong. Hopefully he can stay consistent with that. Because dude, if he can show that he can put his ego aside, he can put his personal things aside and go and play with his team, and they can do something really big this season. It'll prove a lot of people wrong in the way that they think about him.
Yep.
He went off. He had 24 points in the fourth quarter alone and hit 5 threes in a row, and it looked like vintage Harden back at OKC.
Oh, that's my favorite Harden.
Yeah, man. It was just something that it was really cool to watch. It was I'm glad that they're playing this high, because this point in the season it's still pretty early, and you can use these moments to just propel you forward and start stacking up these wins early.
Yeah, man, it's good seeing him play that way. Like my favorite Harden, like I said, was at OKC when he was with the other two superstars, right? Which was Westbrook and KD, baby. And now to see him come to life is great. And then Paul George finally coming back, being full throttle, and Kawhi doing his thing. Like hasn't been out a single game this year. Like that's insane, man. Like they're making something nice over there, man. They're gonna be hard to beat. Let's see where they're at, before All-Star break
For sure.
but even more so, let's see what happens after that. So
Definitely.
but second topic I really want to talk about, man, is Draymond.
Yeah, man, it's a rough go for this dude. I've said it before, but I just feel like he has this ability to just put himself in the worst situations, and it's all temper based, And unfortunately, for him, he finds himself suspended. Indefinitely. Yeah, that's the rough part of it.
And there's going to be rules and guidelines to help him come back, but is he going to be able to do that? Right. And secondly, does the team want him to do that? Right. At this point, he's becoming a distraction, right? From the team doing what they're supposed to do, which is win. Yes, does he add value to the team when he's on the court? Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
he absolutely. The numbers are the numbers. They're going to show that they're better with him on the floor, but at the same time, is it worth the risk?
Yeah, I just think that right now the league is just letting it be known that they're not here for that. They're not going to stand for a player who's going to be so blatantly violent, and he is a violent player. You can go back and look at so many instances of not only in game on the court, but at practice, with his own teammates. And, regardless of what the situation is, he's just showed that he can't control his temper. And, that can be very detrimental for a team, especially a team that has had championship caliber play in the past. I feel like right now is without him being present, it can help the Warriors get a cohesiveness with the players that they do have on the court, because they desperately need that right now. They're not looking too great. They definitely have an opportunity right now to kind of take things into their own hands, kind of restructure a little bit without him on the court. And maybe it kind of makes them realize like, hey, you know what? I do need to calm down. I do need to, put my team first, because when he puts them in those situations, now they got to completely re-strategize. Now they can't count on him. And that's the thing that I think affects the team the most, is when they have a teammate that they absolutely cannot count on. You don't know if he's going to be on the court or off the court. You don't know if he's going to have some kind of a tantrum in the middle of a game and then get ejected and then throw off the entire vibe of the game, or the entire vibe of the team. So
today it seemed like the Warriors adjusted well.
Yes,
they came at your Celtics today.
They came at Boston hard, man. They got a pretty big win. 132 to 126. Like it's a pretty sizable win when you're able to score that many points against a pretty good team.
And what's crazy about it is that like the Celtics are the definition of icy hot, man. Like they're hot and they're cold.
Yeah.
We just finished talking about on Sunday, 2 days ago, about Brown going off for 31 points, having a game, and it wasn't just the fact that he scored 31. It's the way he scored 31 in a variety of ways, and then come right back and you have Tatum scoring 15, Brown scoring 28, and then you got Derek White leading the team. Like, you guys aren't going to win with Derek White leading the team in scoring.
Yeah, they're definitely I've always feel that they've had inconsistency they try to force whenever they have that inconsistency, they try to force things a little bit too much. And then, they end up coming out on the losing end of that. But it's just if they're going to want to be contending again to get into a finals match, I mean, you got to find consistency somewhere. You got to be able to consistently score points. Get those boards. Stop turning the ball over. I always feel like that's a big downfall of theirs is turning that ball over. And bringing in Drew, I was hoping that championship caliber player would be able to kind of bring that team together a little bit. I feel like he's still trying to find his footing. He's still trying to gain traction on where his role is in the team. And hopefully they can find that pretty soon, because before you know it, your all-star breaks here, and then it's a race to see who's at the top of the division. And I just want them to I just want them to find that cohesiveness, that mesh before it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one, I love Tatum. I like Tatum a lot. I like Brown a lot. I think Brown is Batman in alone is awesome. But I think that Brown being in the Justice League is not as great as it should be, right?
Got you. Yeah.
Like, does that make sense? Like, Tatum
definitely.
is Superman, but it's the Superman that's too scared to do anything. Like, it's the Superman before he breaks out and says, "I'm going to do what I need to do." Right? He's in all intents and purposes, in the Zack Snyder edition, right? He's not the black suit Superman. He is the red and white Superman. I mean, red and blue Superman right now. And he needs that color instinct, man. Like, he was one of my favorite players. He needs to be able to say, "I'm going to take over this game. This is my team, and we're doing this," right? And I think the Celtics put their money where their mouth is, and paid him and paid Brown, and they just need to produce, man. Like, it's no more. It's a young team. They're going to make mistakes. It's no more. Oh, well, they have a few years to develop. No, we need to do this now.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, they had a steady decline. I mean, they make it to the finals and then they lose. And then they make it to the conference finals and then they lose. So what are you going to do this season? Are you even going to make it to the conference finals? Or, it's been a kind of a steady decline. And I know it's a two season example, but I mean, this is trending downward. But if they're able to pick it back up and get back to that finals form, they're going to be competing with some tough teams for sure. And they need to be able to find it sooner rather than later, obviously. But we've seen teams in the past, kind of have these runs towards the end of the season, and pull off some good things. So hopefully they're able to do that for the Warriors. I mean, they get this win. Hopefully this can give them some cohesiveness on the west side of the ball. So moving forward, they could be the Warriors of old, but they are getting older. You have an older Steph, you have an older Clay. The younger players that they have on the court, they're trying to find their purpose and what they're gonna be able to produce. But the players that you have right now on this roster that are gonna do the most for you, they're already up there, and this is their moment now.
I to end on this, I just don't think the Warriors are scary anymore. Right?
No, I can see that.
I don't think the Warriors are scary anymore, and not when you have teams like the Clippers. You have LA performing at this high level, LeBron still going at it. Right, you have. Who else? Right now, we have hot teams in the West Coast.
Memphis just got job back, so they're about to start. They're about to start a tear. I mean, they just got a big win, and game winner by Ja. In Ja fashion, he does what he does, and I mean, he's going to have so many more games to be able to pull that off and get them those dubs. So there are.
You got Denver to worry about.
Oh, for sure.
You got OKC. Right. You got Minnesota right now, which I don't know if they're going to stay at the top. I don't see it, but maybe, right? You got Kyrie and Luka going crazy.
Yes.
Like, it's hard to see them. Hard to see this, the being scared of the Warriors. And then, like, I know that right now they're at the number 10 seed, but you got Phoenix, right? Phoenix is always going to be a threat.
Yeah. Phoenix always finds themselves in the playoffs. They always find themselves, in some big moments, and they've pulled them off in the past. They don't have CP3 anymore, and maybe that's a benefit. Maybe that it gives them the ability to give these other players an opportunity to pull something off. But yeah, you definitely I feel like the The West Coast of the NBA is definitely stacked with talent, stacked with a lot of teams that can surprise you. I feel like the East Coast, it's always the same teams that are there. They just keep this consistency when it comes to showing up in the playoffs. And the West Coast, I mean, anyone can be up there, when come the end of the season. So I mean, with the Warriors where they're at now, I mean, they have to find a way to be able to beat these teams that are just playing out of their mind right now.
Absolutely, man. Well, good luck to the Warriors, man, and hopefully they find their oasis with maybe finding a new team member or two or three of them to help them on their journey. The Celtics are number one right now, so congrats to them showing off. I know they're going through their challenges, but I mean, I'm sure they'll figure it out. They never go lower than the 5 seed usually. It's usually 4 or 5.
They're always up there.
And let's see what happens, coming All-Star break. But let's see what happens, what transpires with Draymond. See if the league gets a little bit more lenient on how he comes back, or let's see if
he's
they
even willing to be complacent in the rules that they set for him.
I mean, who knows? He may try to hit the rule book and try to say, No, I'm just kidding. But anyway,
just rip the rule book with his bare hands.
Oh man, I bet you he could do it.
Yeah, I'm sure. He's a big dude.